We don't common peace. Common peace. Common
sense. Benjamin Franklin. The Illuminati, they're back!
Lists. So we're talking today about...
One of my favorite notes!
Honestly, one of her favorite notes, and probably one of the more difficult notes for Westerners to get their nose to appreciate as the note itself.
And you want to know what it is?
Just look below.
Stinky Oud.
Stinky bood.
Stinky Bood.
Yeah, Oud has so many different facets, and depending on where you get it from and how it's manipulated, it's probably like one of the
It's really versatile. One of the
most versatile notes that I can think of. Not versatile in that like, it can be blended into tons of fragrances and you won't notice it. No, it's like it's versatile and it does a lot of really insanely weird shit. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through our journey here with Oud that I think explores tons of facets of Oud that are really interesting and kind of some of the most common facets and more like expensive and artisanal Ouds that we've experienced. So I think the first place for any Westerner who's not too sure about Oud to start is with
or noob
is with this really beautiful bad boy right here. Now, fair warning, this is going to be the only bottle we currently own on our list, although plan is to purchase about half of them. But this is the only full bottle we own on our list, and for a good reason, because it's insanely cheap for what you get to smell. And as far as an intro Oud, as far as somebody who's going to be wearing Oud in a Western society, you're not going to go far off at all with Versace Oud Noir. Yeah, pretty nice.
Oh, it already smells nice.
Yeah, so Versace Oud Noir, what is it? It's a lighter, less creamy and complex version of Tom Ford's Oud Wood. To most people who have not smelled Oud Wood or don't have an insanely experienced nose, you're not going to be able to smell the difference at all.
It smells delicious, I can already tell. That smells nice.
Yeah, so Versace Oud Noir and Oud Wood both kind of do this thing where they take the really challenging facets of Oud and scrape all of them off while kind of maintaining the essential quality
of Oudiness.
Of Oud. Yeah. And they just put it behind a ton of woods. So the fragrance itself just smells very woody.
Very creamy woods, though.
Yeah, very creamy, very woody, a little spicy. That's mostly it. You're not going to be able to really... You're not going to smell this and go, that's really exotic and weird and anything like that.
It's easily digestible Oud.
It's very digestible Oud. Some people's Oud journey might end here. This might be as far as most people are willing to go. That's fine.
It's solid.
It's a really great fragrance to own. And again, for the price, you're not really going to go any better than this one. So step number 2 is to pretty much the same place. This is, there we go, Tom Ford's Oud Wood. Yeah. So that's, again, very rich,
you
very
can tell
creamy.
A different type of, or a harsher Oud in here than Versace.
Yeah, a little harsher and a lot more full-bodied. Yeah, this one starts to smell exotic. This one starts to smell high-end. Not in the Oud necessarily itself, but in the overall composition of the fragrance.
But I can see what you mean, that they smell very similar.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
So,
good place to start.
With Oud Wood, you're not going to get any real new insight into what Oud is. As a matter of fact, I would say the Oud isn't really changed much between the two, although I'm sure Tom Ford definitely uses real Oud. I don't think you're not going to have any breakthroughs jumping from Versace Oud Noir to Tom Ford's Oud Wood. It's just going to be a better experience for you and a more full-bodied take on the same concept, which is shave off all the unpleasantries of oud for our Western noses, shove it into a bunch of woody, spicy notes, and Viola, a masterpiece, is born.
Yay!
Okay, so from here, my best suggestion would be to start trying kind of the more sweetened Western ouds. The best place for anyone to stop is if you can get your hands on a sample of YSL's old M7, not the M7 Oud Absolute, but the original M7 that kind of introduced oud as a pioneered note to Western noses. Do so. M7 by YSL, you can really barely detect the oud notes in there. It mostly smells like a kind of thick cherry, cough syrupy fragrance. It's really...
Cough syrup.
I know, it's really sweetened. The oud is there. It's there like it is in a lot of fragrances like Black Afgano, Laudano Nero.
I love Laudano Nero.
See, it's one of those things, it's a dark note that has been added to a sweet composition to add weight to it.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
No, as we said, it's used in many a way.
Yeah.
That oud. So that's stop 3.
That's stop number 3.
Stop number 4.
Stop number 4 takes that sweetened oud and pushes it to make it a more Eastern, more fully developed oud. That's MFK's just standard oud. Don't go any of the mood lines just yet. Here you get some saffron, you get some elemi, and they kind of go together to create kind of a more spicy and more classically structured oud. So that's what you're getting with this one. Yeah, the oud here is for sure an Eastern oud. It's been sweetened up a lot.
This is really nice.
But this is one where you can wear it and that will be the instant reaction. Jess, I don't think, did you have a memory of this one still? Were you able to, does it smell familiar to you?
Mm-mm.
See, so upon maybe first time smelling it, it still is extremely pleasant.
Well, I was mostly having in mind being prepared for all the really nasty oud mood bananas that were gross.
Yeah, she's not a fan of all the other ouds in the line.
No, but this is really nice. This is definitely lighter than Versace Oud, I would think.
Yep. It's more sweetened, again.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more complex than Versace Oud Noir.
See, I think this one's an easier start, but I'm also now have a more somewhat trained nose. So
right.
I think this is easier to start with doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be, but this is really good.
Well, the things that could make this more difficult to wear is it is just a lot of those Eastern spices that are used underneath. They throw your nose for a little bit of a loop if you're not prepared for them, whereas like the oud that's used in Oud Wood and Versace Oud Noir is a kind of ambiguous woody note, and I think more people are willing to take a strange wood note than they are a strange spice note. Strange spices can kind of almost instantly turn to like...
Body odor.
Which is obviously nothing associated with this fragrance at all.
Mm-mm.
But it's one of those weird things where people's nose just can't quite latch on to the idea of a foreign spice.
Yeah.
As weird as that might sound.
Wonderful.
So now we're getting a little bit weirder. We're going to kind of look at some of the rubbery and smoky aspects of oud.
So, if this is too weird for you, you've been warned.
Yeah, tap out now.
Yeah.
Because the place we're going next...
is down the rabbit hole.
It's got the cumin in it.
Mm-mm.
It's got heavy incense in it.
Yeah, boy.
It's got birch tar in it.
Oh, yes.
It's got some animalic qualities to it.
Oh, baby.
This is another one from the Tom Ford Private Blend Collection. And this is Tom Ford's London. Oh, yeah. So this one fights a lot. The oud comes out very strong with the cumin at first. That's what gives it an animalic quality, is oftentimes when you pair the oud with cumin or spices like that, the two kind of combat each other.
Man, it's sexy, though.
Yeah.
This is sexy. I love this. Go ahead.
It's an incredibly smoky composition.
I don't know the story behind London, but this doesn't seem like London, UK London to me.
Yeah, I don't understand why this one is called London. I think it's just one of those things where, like, yeah, what can we market this fragrance with? London. But, so you really start to kind of catch some of the rubbery aspects here.
The oud note is definitely more raw.
It's a lot more raw,
than we've
for sure. I wouldn't necessarily call this the most unique composition. What you're looking for here is to understand the oud a little bit more of its complex aspects that are starting to kind of growl out from under the surface here. So this one you can start to kind of get a little uncomfortable with. This might be the turning point for some people. The first four that I mentioned might be really digestible still for some folks. London is where it starts to get a little more difficult.
This is where it's just starting to get good.
Okay.
Good.
Here's where it might be tough for you, Issy.
Uh-oh. No!
So the smoky oud that's in Tom Ford's London starts to have a rubbery quality.
I don't want tissue.
That rubbery quality gets amplified a lot more in Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Oud Cashmere Moon. In here you have benzoin and you have labdanum, and what's happening in this fragrance is a lot more of those rich, syrupy resins that are Middle Eastern resins and spices have come together with the really rubbery oud. Together they kind of create the driest composition that we've come across so far. It smells, it's been described an awful lot as smelling kind of like a sauna.
Oh, no.
It's very, very dry.
Yeah, like, I just feel all the moisture being sucked out of my nose when I smell this thing.
Yeah, and the rubbery quality, you smell that there?
Yeah, I do. More to me, it smells like firewood, but next to firewood is also a rubber factory.
Right, yeah.
It's not like burnt rubber, because that's not what it smells like, but it smells like fire, smoke type thing next to a pile of tires.
And this one's kind of nuclear. This is where the oud starts to really be something. You get it on your skin, it's going to last forever. And the thing about this oud is that it really starts to amplify the aspects of the oud that aren't really that palatable anymore.
This is where I draw the line. This
is a very tough composition, and you really have to start liking those aspects of oud, specifically the rubbery aspect, in order to kind of start going down this avenue. And you really have to be prepared for a very dry experience because you're not going to get a whole lot else out of this one.
Nope.
So the next stopping point on our list is all about the classic Eastern composition of rose paired with oud.
Which I love.
Yeah, so do I. It's very nice. It's also very hard to choose because this is one of those things that's been done.
Classic.
Yeah, and it's been done by everybody. And every niche house wants to have their take on rose paired with oud. So we've stuck with two really classic compositions that kind of contrast each other just a little bit.
It's from one of the houses that we feature a couple of times so far on our channel.
By
Killian.
Yep, by Killian's Rose Oud. Very straightforward. The name says it all. It's an incredibly luscious, very dark, red, rich, almost like jammy rose, paired right next to just a very woody and classically kind of spicy oud.
I think this one is very palatable. Still, different than where we just were with MFK, but definitely, a good place to go to if you like rose and you're interested in trying out some oud, because the rose kind of helps sell the oud a little bit. Yeah, and it becomes, here the oud is a lot more regal. It takes place next to the rose, so it acts more of a spicy component rather than just a domineering oud fragrance. And the other one is Oud Ispahan by Dior from their Privé line. This one is all about sandalwood, patchouli, and labdanum, also helping to kind of create that creamy quality that really just swirls the rose and the oud together into one. It's a lot more of a singular, like, monolithic fragrance that is just there to be insanely pleasant, and it doesn't necessarily seek to create
like the two notes in stunning contrast to each other,
Yeah.
but really tries to kind of combine everything with the sandalwood and the patchouli as a creamy facet, and the labdanum kind of as a smoky quality to pull the oud down right smack dab center into the rose.
So I guess kind of figure out what you're looking for. If you're looking for something that's more uniform, then Dewar.
Yep.
Otherwise, Bacchelian.
So we're going to East Town. So the first one is Royal Blend, Abdul Samad Al Qureshi, as well as Ajmal Oud Al Shams. The Ajmal is more animalic in its composition. It's a little more focused specifically on oud. The Royal Blend is kind of just about creating a very regal, rich Eastern perfume. If I were to point to one perfume and say that's what Middle Eastern perfume smells like, that would probably be the one. There's nothing here that really jumps out as another facet, but they're compositions that speak to the central, essential qualities of oud that kind of try to show what another total composition can kind of look like.
Again, just giving you a variety of how oud can be used, and you can find something that matches your nose and your spirit and your skin and your sunglasses and all those other things.
So next up, we're hitting the probably the most difficult aspects of oud in my opinion. There's blue cheese and there's barnyard.
I'd rather have barnyard over blue cheese.
I'm in the same boat, actually.
The blue cheese one was nasty.
There's a few blue cheese ones we're going to hit on this list. They're little bumps. The first one is really tough and is a cheap fragrance to have.
Do not blind buy it.
It's Rasazi's Faklat Lil Rijal. I have no idea how to say that. But my God, this thing has rice. It has saffron.
It stinks for miles.
It smells like fucking blue cheese.
Which we love blue cheese. Like, we eat it. We love blue cheese. So it's not like we're blue cheese haters.
Right.
It just, no. I think it was just too much of it. I think it was just, I don't know. I think the way blue cheese smells in real life is very mellow. This was just brick after brick after brick of blue cheese until you pass out from a blue cheese coma.
Yeah, and there's leather up front hanging out with the oud, which has the saffron underneath. Those three together just start to create this really blue cheesy composition. And then there's patchouli underneath that's trying to cream it on out. It's like, we'll turn this into a little creamy blue cheese goodness. It's harsh.
But some people love it.
Some people, it's mostly a loved fragrance.
We just couldn't get into it.
Blue cheese is a really hard aspect of oud to get into, and I'm telling you, if there is a place to start, that might be the place to start, because it's going to define it as a love-hate relationship instantly, and it's really going to give you a sharp. There's not another quality within that oud.
It is blue cheese all the way.
Yeah, this is the aspect of it. This is the blue cheese quality.
It's memorable.
It's memorable.
How long ago did we get rid of that? Like a couple months ago. It's been...
Yeah, I can still smell it. I can if I think about it, it's right there.
Oh, yeah.
So Indonesian oud by Zegna, that's all I'm going to say. You know the first name. Is the other blue cheesy fragrance that I know out of the oud compositions that I've encountered thus far. Only this one's a lot more pleasant. It's got rose and amber in it and patchouli. All of these together make it a lot more of a smooth ride. There is no loud, abrasive blue cheese. It's more of kind of a soft blue cheese that wafts in every once in a while.
Which is how blue cheese should be. I think so anyway.
I agree. I just still don't. I don't care for it in a composition. I probably will never own a fragrance that gets too
blue cheesy.
Yeah.
I love cheese though, just not in a fragrance.
Yeah, the oud in the Zegna composition is a lot more of a refined oud. It's been hammered down a lot. A lot of the more difficult aspects are out of there. It's just the blue cheese element that kind of spikes out every once in a while. It smells almost like it could be a Tom Ford composition. You could call this one London 2 Blue Cheese Boogaloo, but...
Boogaloo!
But you know, it's the safer way to go. So if you decide you like that blue cheese facet, and you want something a little more refined, when you're not just at home running around like a savage animal naked chasing after your dog, the Zegna might be the best option.
I don't think I'd recommend the blue cheese ones either one for a first date. Just saying.
So lastly, we come to one last place here.
Animals!
Animals.
Smells like the zoo.
It smells a lot like a barnyard, is the best way to describe this note. It smells a lot like horses and their poop. A lot of that is because you get really unrefined oud that's placed next to leather. The leather is usually not sweetened up. If it is, it's sweetened up by a lot of other notes that don't necessarily latch on to the leather, so the leather just pairs seamlessly with the oud to create a poop note.
Poop!
A horse poopy note.
Yay!
And how could you find that pleasant?
Magic.
Magic.
There's no turning back now. You've been with us this long.
So the first of these compositions that I would say anybody should get into is a fragrance that technically, from the house itself, does not contain any oud. But it sure smells like it does. This is the Guerlain fragrance, Sans d'un Bois d'Et. Okay, so there's a cumin note in here. There's some crazy jasmine, saffron, myrrh, leather, all of this.
Some secret oud.
Some secret hidden oud. It really smells like there's oud in this fragrance. I'm saying, if you smell this fragrance and you didn't know any better, you'd say, hey, that's some oud in that fragrance. So to a lot of people, this fragrance smells like sex. A lot of folks have said. A lot of folks say this is the aftermath of sex itself. They say because that cumin note, you get some body odor.
I mean, a little bit.
It smells. There's a little poo note in there, just a teeny poo note.
Oops. I don't want to know.
And it's not necessarily poo like you just shit the bed, but like naughty things.
It's both darker and creamier than some of the ones, I think.
The reason, in my opinion, that the animalic nature of this is a lot easier to digest is because it smells more of ass, in my opinion.
You think it smells like butt?
I think it smells more like a human ass than it does smell like a horse's shit all over its body. But it starts to take on that edge.
I still like it. Even if it smells like butt.
Do you kind of smell the poo note in there? It's kind of a raw leather mixed with the cumin.
No, I don't smell the poo.
Yeah, so I'd say this is dry. It's
not
definitely
as dry
smoky.
as the other one, as satin oud, though.
This is a dry, smoky, kind of body odorish, spicy.
I get the body odor.
Fragrance. The reason that it's included in here is because it does start to take on that barnyard quality. And it's
so characteristic in oud.
Yeah, and it's worth investigating this one before the other ones. Case in point, I hated leather oud the first time I smelled it. Then I got myself through this one, for instance. I love this one. And then I started to really actually start to appreciate leather oud.
And just for reference, I love animalic perfumes as well. This isn't the type of animalic that you find like civet notes. It's not that type of animalic.
No.
So when we use the term animalic, there's a couple different camps. They're not all the same. So don't think this is going to start coming off like civet or beaver or, Salome or, Absolute Pour le Soir. It's not going to smell like any of that.
No, most of those I would begin to start characterizing kind of as yellow or honeyish animalic.
This would be more of like a brown.
This is like a brown or a black.
Yeah.
It definitely smells very spicy and like just hard to digest in that way. There's two that are now coming up that are going to be the hardest, I think, for most people with oud to digest, as far as a good composition of oud goes. First...
There might be other ones. Feel free to
comment
suggest.
below.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about oud. This is just our journey with oud. Yeah. We're not saying it's the best. We're just saying this is the milestones we've hit.
Yeah. It's a memorable, for better for worse, perfumes.
So that first one is what we just talked about, Dior's Leather Oud.
Poop!
It's the one that everybody calls the Barnyard King, the Poopy Queen.
Yeah.
It's got kind of that rough animalic leather that's already present in fragrances like Kilian's Royal Leather, but
it dirties it up a bit.
It takes out the smooth notes. It takes out any smoky qualities necessarily, and it supplements them with a giant sludgy slap of oud.
See, a lot of times we'll read fragrances and people will be like, oh, it smells like pee, or oh, it smells like this, and we're both like, no, it doesn't. However, the first time we smelled this thing, we're both like,
that's poopy.
It smells like poop.
That is poop.
Yeah.
And the thing is that there is civet in here. Not like real civet, but the note of civet is in here. So what that does here is kind of like where patchouli and creamy sweet fragrances, it'll like smooth that out and make that a more pleasant, like creamy quality. That's kind of what civet does here, but instead of cream, you can think of it as like
animal
diarrhea, and it's like smooth the rest of the composition out into like a consistent diarrhea thing.
That's gross.
Here, let's
I'm slightly disturbed now.
So right out the gate, it does not smell like poop. It takes it a sweet minute to get to that poopy quality. You start to get
it already kind of smells a little bit like
it's hidden, it's tucked down there.
Yeah. It starts out though like you get the honey, the cream, the sweet right off like the front, and it's kind of nice.
Yeah, the oud has been honeyed here.
And it smells nice. I can smell the oud note. It smells ballin'.
It smells really good.
But it's a secret devil. It's gonna come out. It's gonna smell like butt. It's gonna smell like poop.
Yep, it's tough. That oud is really honeyed. It almost starts to get a slight sweetness to it, but the sweetness is like a stomach turning almost kind of sweetness. In a good way.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain. It's kind of like Absolute Pour Le Soir. You're saying, it smells like piss, but it's wonderful. With fragrance, there is a detached notion from the original object. I don't think anybody who really loves leather oud is going around sniffing soiled diapers and thinking, wow, that's wonderful. There is a phantasmic distance from the actual object itself and the composition of the fragrance here. Yeah, you really smell.
Nah, you can really.
The musk underneath is really just this swirling cloud that the civet gets caught up into, and it's tough. The regal quality is still kind of there in the leather.
Oh yeah, I mean, to some extent, you can definitely. It's definitely expensive poop. It's like if a monarch pooped, that would be what this is.
That's it.
You know.
There's all of these things are kept intact throughout the entirety of the fragrance. You can make out the individual notes a little bit here and there.
Does Dior know the Queen of England?
They've extracted her poop. Exflate the poop.
I think the first time you wore this, you weren't a big fan of it. Like the second time you wore it, you warmed up to it.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of how I've been too. I think that's just kind of been our fragrance journey all along. You know, sometimes we'll get too far ahead of ourselves, and then we'll catch up, and we'll be like, oh, that's actually not so bad.
Yeah, I think people who say that there is no... I think here's a real easy test to do. People say there's no objectivity to perfume. Okay, that's fine. I don't think anybody just straight out the gate walks into Dior and is like, leather oud, smells good, slap it on, I'll take 20. Like, I think it really does take a lot of training to the nose, which is why I think some people can leave their house thinking they smell like $1 million and everyone around them is like, the fuck is this retard doing?
It's actually not that bad. I really don't think it is. It's
not bad. You have to warm up to it, because the first time you put it on, especially after having been a Macy's fanboy your whole life, having just sprayed on whatever they're pumping out at Macy's. Yeah, same house. You're not going to like this one if you love Sauvage.
Is this the last stop?
Now we've come to the most difficult fragrance on our journey.
Woo! Brace yourselves, buckle in.
This is Parfum d'Ucidas Oud Infini Extrait de Parfum. What this guy is, there's three things primarily going on here. This one has an incredibly animalic, poopy note to it.
Poop.
This has an incredibly dry, aged blue cheese note to it. And it's got an extremely smoky, dark oud, all paired next to the most luscious rose that you'll ever smell in your entire life.
Yay, let's do it.
In this composition...
Ooh. Oh! You guys got... Ooh, okay.
So there's civet going on here. You smell the civet?
I mostly just smell the blue cheese at this point.
It's sharp. It's loud.
Oh man. Oh man, this is no wonder the last stop.
The blue cheese in here does two things. It both at the same time smells like it's been left out in the sun baking for 1 billion years.
It smells like really nasty baby diaper.
But it also smells like you're getting the blue cheese made right from the animal itself. You're squirting blue cheese out of the goat yourself, or the cow. There's also an incredibly audacious and violent leather hanging out right in the front, which is just very abrasive and loud and shocking.
This is rough. I love it. I would never wear this, but I think it's great. But it's disgusting at the same time.
There's benzoin and vanilla hidden way the fuck down. But the rose here is simply the greatest rose you'll ever smell in your life. I guarantee it. The oud here is really bizarre, though. That's why it's at the end of the list here. The oud is maintaining that animalic poopy quality. It is maintaining that blue cheese quality. It is very smoky. But it's hanging out alongside that rose, which is so majestic. There's almost a dissonance between the two, where they're classically paired because there is contrast between the two. And it allows you to kind of take the more beautiful and regal elements of both and kind of enjoy them.
Yeah.
Here they have made the most incredibly Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde fragrance, where the oud really does take on all these qualities. There's a little bit of rubbery edge to it. It's slightly medicinal in areas. And it's so hideous in a weird way that it's paired next to the rose, which is so beautiful that the rose at times becomes ugly and the oud becomes beautiful. And it's one of those instances where you get spun around so much, you're kind of the one questioning, like, I don't really remember what's good and what's bad. I'm just in this weird experience. And because it's so thick with the aromatic chemicals, and because it's such a high concentration, get it on your skin, it's going no.
No, that's a rough stop. I thought it was good though. I don't think we ever want to own it.
It's also $300 for a 50 ml, so $350. So it'd be tough. But the fact of the matter is
that we made it to the end.
And you've seen a lot of these qualities that oud can kind of embody. Yeah. And now you have a good feeling for kind of what the ingredient itself
can do for you.
Yeah, can do for you.
Can do for you. Well, choo choo. We're off now.
Good night.
Good night.